It's really easy. PPP, 100% forgiveness, would be whatever the federal government pays plus whatever you pay leads to forgiveness. Now, forgiveness would be in these circumstances because you haven't done anything wrong, right? So if you look at the definition of forgiveness, what applies here is absolution. Absolution is the release from obligation. So here's how 100% you are released from obligation, okay? Is payroll, insurance match, employer match, SUTA, utilities, rent, and payback. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I don't want the obligation. Spend it on these things, the things that you need. Pay it all back. Then honestly, the head count, you'll have to do all that. All those dates and all that stuff. Even if you say, I've got everybody back hired, I've got my payroll back. Even if you're like, well, payroll stayed the same the entire time. It's like, well, I've had the same employees the entire time. I've had 5 employees the entire time, never gave anybody a raise, the same thing. No, we never went off work, never did nothing, just all the same. Guess what? You still have to come up with all those figures. All those dates, all those salary amounts, still the receipts, still the check copies, all the same. All the same, okay? And then, as you can tell, when you start seeing that, like what the Excel spreadsheet would be doing, which was my pen going everywhere, this and that, and this and that, and then offset, and blah, blah, blah. You know, I had another video talking about that crazy calculation. You know, really at the end of the day, what it comes down to is you got 75% at least for payroll, you got 25% for the other things, right? You know what your average is, that's what it is, right? But actually none of that even matters, right? Okay, so you don't spend 75%. Okay, you spent more than 25%, because that's just about the forgiveness. So if they were to change it to say, hey, here's how, follow these steps, here are the things that you can do, and at the end you just pay it back. And they didn't use the word forgiveness. They just said, hey, here you go. Whatever you were paying around February 15th, that's all you can pay. Whatever the rent was and utilities and the mortgages that you had on, and then whoever was on payroll then, that's all you can pay, right? Now, if someone were to leave, you can replace them, but for exact same pay, whatever that was, then that's what you're able to, have. And then just whatever you don't use, bring back to us, okay? Probably wouldn't be worried about, like, okay, how many is this and how many is that? And then do I need to maneuver it this way? And should I pay myself more? But I think it's that word forgiveness that's kind of put us in this, maybe in this mode of like, well, I want full forgiveness. I don't want someone to say, well, you're not forgiven for all of it. So even the best of us are like, what do I do? Because I don't want to get in trouble. So guess what? When we talk about the word forgiveness, though, you will not be forgiven as in, and JJ, you're out of line. I'm out of line. You're out of line. This whole court's out of line. Terrible Al Pacino impression. Terrible. So right here, you could actually lead to by trying to rig the forgiveness, right? Because basically the government's going to pay and you're going to pay, and no matter what, within 2 years, you'll be released of this obligation. I mean, you will. You'll either spend it the way that it had, or you'll be released from the obligation because you will have paid the rest. The government pays the other portion. But if you think about it, if you mess up trying to achieve what you're putting in your mind as forgiveness, if you're trying to achieve forgiveness, like trying to juggle, then you might actually find yourself asking for forgiveness because you did something wrong. Think of the banker that you're going to be in front of, and they get to see all your records. No, I mean, I'm just smiling because it's like, you'll be like, whoa, you're right. So this would be a bank, most likely, that you have a relationship with. And, you provide documentation to them, financials and tax returns, probably, financial statement, is like a personal financial statement. And then, they just rely on that information. They don't usually ask for a GL or, your general ledger. They're not asking for details. They may have some questions when they do some comparisons. So this will be that one time that you're going in front of your bank and you're actually bringing in details, right? You're bringing in check copies, the receipts, all the payroll detail, like by employee, the head count, payroll by payroll, not just totals, unless the bank's just not doing it the way I think the law requires them to. But, you're bringing all that in, and, they'll be the ones really entering in the numbers. I mean, you'll provide a worksheet to say, well, here's where I'm at, but then they're actually going to take it, they're going to run the numbers. And, so they're going to see who the different people are on payroll. They're going to see what they were making in 19, if they've been around that long, at the beginning of the year, if they've been around that long, mid-year, between February 15th and 4/27. They're going to see it in the 8 weeks. They're going to see what you're doing at June 30. And anyway, so what do you think the bank would think if they saw, your salary went up? Because why would your salary need to go up, right? Someone was like, well, I'm working more. You're the only employee. Come on. Anyways, or you see that, an employee that was always making $12 an hour, now they're making 18, but only for 3 weeks. I mean, maybe you have an next month, maybe they're working overtime. Okay, well, were they? You see, no employees, but then in the last payroll, like payroll's quadrupled, because you do have to provide a payroll by payroll period. That's actually who you might be asking forgiveness of, the bank, because you think they're going to want to do business or do loans with somebody that's juggling numbers, right? I mean, seriously, think about it. If I'm a banker, I don't think I would take it lightly that, forget you even want to call it a crime or wrongdoing or whatever. But if I'm a banker, I don't know that I would want to do business with somebody that's now bringing me documents and either expecting that I'm a fool or expecting me to believe how you've doctored them, or to see how you tried to play the numbers, to see that you, used it. Because see, here's the thing. Okay, here's how the bank sees it. And I'm going to do another quick video on this, but here's how the bank sees it. They don't care, because government's paying it and you're paying it. Government's paying it, you're paying it. You know what the bank's doing? They're just trying to figure out how much does government need to pay and how much do you need to pay. That's it. They don't really care about the forgiveness part. They could care less. Either way, they're getting paid from you or the government. So to them, it's a very neutral situation for them. There's really no advantage for them to try and help you achieve less payback. They're going to get paid either way. Not going to get paid any more or less interest. They got their fee up front. But what they do have to do is tell the federal government how much they need to pay, they being the federal government. So the bank has to go to the federal government and say, hey, you need to pay this amount. And then they're going to tell you, you need to pay this amount. But either way, they're getting paid. But then what would a bank think with, come on, it's the bank, it's underwriters. I may get frustrated with them every once in a while, but they're like the most keen in looking at numbers. They're going to look at your numbers in comparison. They're going to have software that's put into play, shink. And then with all the things that are put together, and then, Oh, I achieved, 5D, 1106 D5, I hired everybody back. Yeah, but actually the payroll that you did with this or the payroll you did with that, doesn't actually qualify, right? So don't find yourself actually for real asking for forgiveness, because all you have to do right now is you're just trying to get released from the obligation. Well, how do you get released from the obligation? You spend it on what you need, and then you just pay back what you didn't need. Really simple. So probably get a lot of thumbs down on this one, because there probably were some people that were like, when's he gonna tell me the secret? Like, where's the formula so that I can pocket all the money? Right, it's just human nature. There's gonna be somebody like, oh! Wasn't meant to be a trick. It was really just to come and show you, like, here are all the calculations that are going and all the things that are into it. And then actually just this simple. Here's what you need. Here's the sub, here's your categories. Okay? Whatever's left over, boom, boom. You pay it back. Zippity-doo-dah-day. Full release from obligation. So don't worry, you're going to be released from the obligation. There'll be nothing to ask for forgiveness of. Because you're going to go in, you're going to go, here's my stuff, here's what I needed, here's that. And even if they come back and they're like, well, it seemed like you hired a person there and this and that. And you're like, yeah, well, I had to hire somebody, and here's all the info they're going to do. Hey, so, you got 100 and you're going to owe us, $1,400 back. Okay. No one won, no one lost. You're going to get full release, because in theory, you got 100K, and even though it's all gone, they're going to determine, $1,400 of it didn't actually fit into the model. And even though you spend a little more, you ever seen those speakers and they do this the whole time? And then boom, simple, done. And you don't actually have to ask for forgiveness, because you just did it the way that it was intended. Zippity-doo-dah-day. JJ the CPA out.